Warhammer 40k Darktide is an action co-op shooter slasher hybrid that throws you and 3 others into a mission with a horde of enemies and various objectives in order to survive, gain experience, and gain different currencies. You then spend the experience and currency in a variety of ways to become more powerful to take on progressively harder challenges. That's Darktide in a nutshell, and the gameplay loop outlined is an addictive one. You'll find yourself always out for the next cool weapon that either chops your enemies in half or turns them into paste, all methods being surprisingly cathartic and satisfying. That's what Darktide nails, just how glorious combat can be when not worried about upsetting children. Your bloodlust will be more than sated as you slice through seemingly endless hordes of meatbags and twisted chaos monsters. Does this sound appealing to you? If so, this video will give you a quick outline of what to expect before you buy. First, that you need to choose a class. As of this video's recording, there are 4 classes with many more planned for the future. More on the roadmap at the end of this video. When making your class, you have freedom to craft how they look and what their background is. Looks affect relatively little gameplay wise, besides your comrades perhaps being a little distracted while they're fighting next to you. Whereas background influences what your character says to the others during the action. If you were raised on a mining world, for example, this may come up in conversations about mining. Most important though is your class choice. I won't outline the different choices in this video, suffice to say you can always make a new character if the one you chose isn't for you. However, your class choice does make a huge difference between the skill tree, the passives, and their unique weapons. For example, the marksman gets access to plasma weapons, so if you like those, it's a good bet you'll enjoy the class or be jealous of those who picked it if you did not. Keep in mind, as of right now, there is no bad choice, just bad choices for you. Every class can DPS and tank in some way with the right items. Once you pick your class, you'll be thrown into basic training. Do take note of what they teach you. In missions, you'll be thrown into situations where hundreds of enemies run at you. Remember to block, dodge, and swing at the right times in order to take as little damage as possible. Every bit of chip damage adds up and can potentially wipe your whole team. From the hub area, you can do a few things. First and most importantly, you can pick a mission. These will be rotating on a clock, more on this soon. You can't just choose one particular mission with the particular modifications you want at any time. You will be encouraged to try new things as they come. Also in the hub is a shop for weapons and items that give passive bonuses. You get the money to buy things here from missions. There's also the Sarcanium, which houses the meat grinder, which lets you test out your abilities and weapons. Then there's the Requisitorium that gives you contracts, little side quests like killing 500 scabs with melee in order to get unique currency you can spend for seemingly higher quality weapons or to gamble for random ones. Think Diablo 2 item gambling. Then we have the Shrine of the Omnissiah, which as of right now is limited. Here you can consecrate, which is upgrade an item to a higher quality level, therefore making it stronger. You can also refine items, earn blessings, and re-bless items, all of which improve an item you have by adding or modifying passives on them. The currency required to do all of this is gained in missions and none is purchasable by real money. Finally, you can modify the way you look. Some of these areas will be locked to you until you reach a particular level. There are 5 difficulty challenges to work yourself up to. Sedition, which is quite easy for all but the newest of gamers. Uprising, which is a baseline for many new players. Malice, which is starting to be a challenge. Heresy, which is quite the challenge. And Damnation, which will require the most fitted out and coordinated teams. Each difficulty provides progressively higher rewards. This doesn't mean you should automatically go for the highest difficulty you've unlocked. In fact, the level you unlock the higher difficulties are far too early most of the time. You should start with Sedition and then when it becomes too easy, move on to Uprising. It's advised to stay here for a while, around level 20 before you move on to Malice. Stay away from Heresy and Damnation until you're level 30, which is the max level as of this moment. You might be able to handle them, but your character will be underpowered and your teammates will not enjoy carrying you. Keep an eye on the objectives before selecting a mission. Some have special conditions like endless horde modifiers or secondary objectives like recovering scriptures. You'll also see that each mission has a time limit that's available before it's replaced with something else. This keeps selection fresh. Also on this screen we see a global condition countdown, in this case over 600 minutes away, that will drastically change the options. So now that you got your head around the hub, it's time for some missions. What you want to know is that Darktide isn't a traditional story-based FPS with a multiplayer component. At its heart, Darktide is a co-op game. If you haven't played any of the Vermintides or even Left 4 Dead, what you need to understand is that you can't really enjoy this game without playing with other people. They can be randoms that are easily found automatically when taking on a mission, but to really enjoy the game, it's good to bring along some friends. Coordinating over your choice of voice chat lets you push out extra difficulty settings and ultimately is a lot more fun. Let's be clear, this is not a single player game. Though you don't need friends to enjoy it, you'll always be in a group with others. In fact, even if you could somehow solo, it would be close to impossible, as the enemies are designed to pick off lone players, and then you require a teammate to get out of it. Also, you regenerate your toughness the more players you have around you. Which leads me to the point, stay close to your team. Together you're a lawnmower of pain to your enemies, chains staggering them while you regenerate your own damage. In fact, most of the time your team will wipe is when someone runs off or you're forced to split up. Apes together strong. Anyone that's played Left 4 Dead multiplayer as the infected team will note just how impossible it is to beat the survivors that stick together and support each other. It's the same for the Plague-Ridden in Darktide. Make their lives hard for the Emperor. We talked about wandering off alone, but the single biggest reason for mission failures involve special enemies. These will make some kind of sound when they're on their way to you and usually do major damage, pick one of you off and disable you, or both. So when you hear their distinct sound cue, get ready to take them out ASAP. First is the Pox Burster, which will charge at you and explode, doing huge damage. This makes a very obvious ticking sound that gets faster the closer they get to you. If you hear a roar, it's a mutant. He'll charge at you and smash you into the ground over and over before throwing you. If you hear barking, it's a Pox Hound. It will target a player, leap on them and maul them until they die, so you need to get them off your allies fast. If you hear a charging sound followed by mumbled talking, it's a Trapper. These will trap your allies, disabling them from doing anything. You should untie your allies and take out the Trapper ASAP before it strikes again. The Scab Bomber has a unique ticking sound as he throws out his fire bombs. Avoid the fire and take him out before he area denies you and splits you all up. When you hear a gas burner starting up, it's a Tox Flamer. It will do high damage to your group if they stay within its flamethrower. Finally, the most damaging of the specials, the Scab Sniper. You'll not hear the sniper, but you'll see its red laser sight. When you do, run for cover and dodge. It will do major damage and in most difficulties, straight up kill you. Take it out as soon as possible. Now, I briefly mentioned that you can regenerate toughness faster together, but what exactly is this mechanic? It's called coherency. Coherency refers to your proximity to allies. For every ally you're close to, including yourself technically speaking, you gain 1 stack of coherency. By default, this passive grants you recharging toughness, with the recharge rate charging based on how many allies you have in coherency with you. Toughness is a basic shield that protects your health from damage. So with investment, some classes can further improve coherency bonuses, giving things like regenerating grenades or extra damage. This incentivizes sticking close to your team, as damage from enemies can be recharged even faster than average. So now that you know the game requires you to stick together most of the time, it's time to kill things. Your aim is important, even when meleeing. You simply can't shoot everything. There will be a lot of situations where enemies will reach you. In this case, switch to your melee weapon and hold block. Don't let them hit you. Keep moving and either swing to stagger them all in front of you with light and or heavy attacks, or block and then hold attack to do a block attack. Remember to aim for the head in most cases. Channel your inner lawnmower. The loadout you choose before mission start is the one you have to stick with until its completion, so keep an eye on your ammo and choose a weapon that suits you. In the beginning you'll have very little choice, but as you level up you'll get access to more and more weapon types. Don't give up, the game doesn't hold your hand. You won't be having as much fun as a level 1 character with basic gear. You'll need to work to become respected in the Imperial Guard, especially since you're a criminal fresh recruit. But just because you're a fresh recruit doesn't mean you can't look fresh as hell. In the armory, you can use your hard-earned dollary dues to buy cosmetics for your character and their weapons. You can also complete penance, which are challenges in order to unlock more. So check out the menu and see what you need to do in order to get the ones you want. I briefly mentioned feats, but it's your skill tree. It looks small, but each one helps quite significantly. For example, at level 10, the sharpshooter can regenerate 1 grenade every 60 seconds, letting the class spam grenades without worrying about having to find and replenish them. However, that means you can't select 20% more damage or a 20% better reload speed. The choices are locked in at mission start, but you can change your feats around at will while in the hub. Now, the last thing you need to keep in mind is that Fat Shark games are always being updated and always evolving. Look at Vermintide 2 over the course of its development. Not only does it still have a healthy community, it looks quite a bit different than it did at release. Darktide will be the same, according to the devs at least. They have a roadmap of post-release content coming for year 1, which will include the following: new enemies and new threats, similar to how Vermintide branched out from just the Ratmen to Chaos and Beastmen. They will have new conditions, which means in-game events or circumstances they can trigger to change the core gameplay loop. Things like this will alter your play experience and keep you more interested a lot more than a lot of other changes will. There will also be new zones, new classes, which you have to expect. Frankly, I hope they add a ton of new classes, as that's what keeps me personally interested in grinding. They'll also have constant fixes, updates, and changes according to community feedback. Then, of course, they have promised some surprises. A bigger surprise is that you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and for everything RPG, keep your eyes on Dantix. Ciao, friends.